Hello everyone, this is ColdWarriorGamer. After a very long time of not recording a video on this channel, I have decided to come back with a game that I've been waiting for many years, and this is Sea Power Naval Combat in the Missile Age. This, as you can see, is a Cold War naval simulator, which basically simulates combat between the Soviet Union and the United States at the peak of the Cold War. Generally focuses on the 1975 to 1985 timeline, and there's some exceptions to that, but we'll just get right into it then. This is the blockade running mission. You have a Soviet task force of 4 ships, including the fictional Ural-class aircraft carrier, which was never actually built. It was a Soviet project in the late 1970s to build a true blue water aviation capability for the Soviet Navy. It was a full catapult carrier, which had full steam catapults and everything here, but it was still considered an aircraft carrying heavy cruiser, and it could still carry the long-range P700 Granite, aka the SSN-19 shipwreck anti-ship missile, in addition to a full complement of aircraft. As you can see here, I just gave it the order to launch the P-42 RLDN AEW&C or AWACS plane. Now, this is a completely fictional plane, just like this carrier. None of this was actually ever built, but it's pretty cool to see. Yeah, this is the Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, is that it named after. Very cool to see this modeled in this game, and I really like this game just because the visuals are absolutely amazing. As you can see here, we have at night, as it's raining, just the rain coming down, and the visuals and the audio of the plane starting up its engines, unfolding its wings, and getting ready to launch. Only thing it's missing is having a full-fledged carrier crew like in DCS. It's not quite there yet, but let's be honest here, this game is early access, and I'm quite impressed with the game so far, despite it being in early access. It has realistically modeled sound, weapons, avionics, radars, MCON, and various platforms as well. Of course, the platforms that were never actually built, they try to represent as best as they can. So over here on the other side of the blockade, like our goal of this mission is to run through the Gibraltar Strait with our carrier group and break through it. We have a submarine in the red area. It's an Alpha class submarine, which is kind of protecting the other side of the straits, and we have to get our group through there without getting destroyed by NATO. We have a Slava class cruiser, which as you know, is a very formidable Soviet surface combatant with 16 P500 anti-ship missiles. Very dangerous in long-range combat. Has a range of several hundred miles in anti-ship mode. As you can see there, I'm giving the ship orders to deploy its variable depth sonar. Now, in this game, sonar is quite important, just like it was in Fleet Command and Dangerous Waters. And as you've seen on my channel over the last few years, I've done videos on Dangerous Waters, I've done videos on Fleet Command, I've done videos on all of the various naval combat simulators, including Command, Modern Operations, and Naval War Arctic Circle. And this game is better than almost all of them. I mean, it's not better than Fleet Command in some ways, which I will get to later, but it has a lot going for it. Just on visuals alone, it's better than CMO, but it can't beat CMO on platforms, though. There are no Australian or British or French or Canadian ships in this game yet. It really is only NATO and the Soviet Union and the United States, with some minor other exceptions. So as you can see here, I'm just looking at the random radars, which are randomly, I was detected by my AEW plane, which I just turned the radar on. I ordered him to go up to 30,000 feet. That's always what you want to do, is order your AWACS plane up to as high as possible so it can detect enemy units from as far away as it can, and keep it well protected from enemy fighters, because in this mission, the NATO bases scramble fighters in order to attack your aircraft and your carrier group, which you will see here. Like I said, we have a Slava, we have the Ural-class carrier, which is its own anti-shipping and anti-aircraft missiles. We have, I think, a Udaloy-class destroyer, and then I think it's a Krivak-class frigate is the 4th ship. Right now, I have told my KLK-27PL, which is, an anti-submarine helicopter. Very popular twin-rotor design, as you can see there, which it doesn't need a tail rotor because it has 2 rotors, which are counter-rotating, which balances out the torque in each direction. Very interesting design. The Soviet Union was very big on these types of helicopters, and I'm speeding up the time now just so I can get the helix out to the area in which I want to drop some sonobuoys in. And there's the NATO AWACS, the E3 Sentry, which I have detected now. And I have also now, and there's a P3 Orion anti-submarine, plane, patrol plane, which is for detecting submarines. And yes, there we go. Yes, this is the... should be the Krivak, I think, 2 class frigates here, if I recall correctly. And I'm making sure his sonar is deployed as well, because I was not sure if there were enemy submarines in this area or not. The scenario description is not clear on if there are submarines in the area or not. It just says that there's going to be an air threat and you need to break through the NATO ship blockade to get to your destination. And yes, this is an Udaloy class frigate. It's because the ship's name is literally Udaloy, ship hull number 444, which is the lead ship of its class. So I'm just waiting now to make, before I make my next move. I'm kind of detecting what the enemy is doing. I'm moving my Ki-27 around to deploy some sonobuoys around my fleet to watch for enemy submarines. Yeah, deploying the VDS sonar on this guy as well, but I'm making sure that it's not in active sonar mode, because it can listen on the variable depth sonar without being in an active sonar mode. And when it's not an active sonar, you can listen passively, but it won't give away your position at, like, as far away, so to speak. There's an inverse relationship between sonar. Like, if you are an active sonar ping, the enemy can detect it from twice as far away. Generally speaking, it's not exactly, it's like an inverse square or something like that, but they can detect it from about twice as far away as your sonar emitter, so it's actually easier for them to detect when you use your active sonar versus when you use your active sonar to detect an enemy. It kind of goes that way with radar too, but not quite in the same way, because obviously water absorbs signals at a faster rate than the air does, obviously. So I'm lowering the time compression there as well, because this is a common thing in this game, and this is a common thing throughout every simulator game. You're going to be using the time compression a lot. You're going to be increasing and decreasing the time as things go, just to speed things up, because let's be honest here, it takes a lot of time for things to happen in this game. Like this scenario, there's no save feature in Sea Power yet, and that is a big problem. That's one of probably my biggest problems with this entire game, is there's no save feature yet. This footage is like a couple of weeks old at this point, but there still is no save feature by the time that I'm recording this video. I know they're working on it, but it's kind of a joke that a naval simulator like this would not have a simple save feature in 2024. I know it is early access, and I give the developers a lot of credit for the amount of time and effort they put into this, but something like that is kind of unforgivable. Anyway, as you can see here, I am now launching 2 MiG-23A interceptor aircraft. So in the Orel class carrier, I guess the Soviets decided to go for a navalized version of the MiG-23, which is a single-engine fighter and is obviously very different than what they would ultimately go with in the future, which was the Su-33 flanker, which was twin-engine, obviously, and then later the MiG-29K, another 2-engine fighter. But a single-engine carrier-based fighter is doable. I mean, the A7 Corsair 2 and was a single-engine fighter, but that wasn't really that was an attack aircraft, not a fighter. So it's certainly possible to do a single-engine carrier-based aircraft, but as far as I know, I've never really heard of the MiG-23A, the naval-based version of the MiG-23, really ever existing. I mean, I think it was an on-paper project. As you can see here, they're about to launch. The catapults are steaming up and about to launch, and there we go. Very nice. The second one is about to do the same. So yeah, the MiG-23A was never really considered seriously to be put in a navalized fighter, but in this game, this is what we're given. So, as you can see, in the default loadout, the MiG-23s are armed with AA-7D Apex, or R-24, I believe, D, R-24T IR-guided missiles. So these are actually not radar-guided. These are long-range IR-guided missiles, which do not require terminal guidance to be guided towards the target. One thing that I don't really like about this is you have to, when you give, like, look at this here, when you give your aircraft an order and tell them to go up to an altitude, they do it at ridiculously high angles. Like, look at this, they're almost going 90 degrees straight up, and they drop their drop tanks. I did not give them an order to drop their drop tanks, they just did it by themselves. Now, I don't know about you, but doing a zoom climb at 80 degrees, even on full afterburner, with a fully loaded plane, is not exactly easy. And it's not really a conventional maneuver. So if I was tweaking the AI for this game, I would probably make it so that they do not drop their tanks randomly, even when I haven't told them to attack. Like, they will do it when you tell them to attack, which kind of makes sense, but they'll also just drop it randomly, like now, and then they'll also accelerate up to the altitude that you indicate at ridiculously obscene angles. So they should probably level that off and make it a more mellow flight profile. That's one recommendation that I would recommend, is sometimes when you give planes a speed or an altitude order in this game, they sometimes do maneuvers that I would not really consider to be the most sense. And right there, I'm looking at the unit card for the AA-7D there. Yes, the medium-range IR missile, and it has a 19 nautical mile range, but it is fire and forget because it does not require terminal radar guidance like the R-24R or the AIM-7M Sparrow, which is what the NATO aircraft will be using in this case. But you can actually fire and forget this missile, which is a big advantage in this game. So I'm closing with 2 bandits right now, hostile enemy aircraft, which I don't know what they are yet. One of my MiGs is on MCON. I think the other one I turned the radar on. But it doesn't really matter because the target is already illuminated by my AWACS anyway, so I believe it should be fine. Yeah, and right there, my other MiG has fired an air-to-air missile. He's fired an AA-7D, aka the R-24R. Everyone uses NATO names. But one thing that is weird too, well, not weird, but immediately after firing a missile in this game, your aircraft will immediately go cold and break off. Which I'm not necessarily in favor of either. Like, sometimes I want my MiGs to keep pressing the attack until the target is destroyed, but in this, they immediately could go cold. And right there, the enemy target has been destroyed. I don't know exactly what type of aircraft it is because I clicked on it and it didn't tell me, but now I'm ordering the rest of my MiGs to vector back in because they've already started to go cold, but I want them to head back into the fray because there are more enemy hostile bogeys incoming here. So one target has been destroyed, but there is definitely more, as I can see on the radar there. Those red contacts, the red upper chevron are hostile aircraft. This game uses the same HAFU NATO symbols as in Jane's Fleet Command or Dangerous Waters or any other such game. Like, obviously those symbols do not vary or change ever. They are a constant. So as you can see there, you see some of the speed vortices, the vortex coming off of the wings as the plane breaks through the sound barrier, which is a very nice touch. Very appreciate that a lot from the developers. The visual design that went into this game is quite impressive, and the models are very high quality. And you can tell that they spent a lot of time doing this. Not like in Naval War Arctic Circle, where the models were terrible and the animations of firing missiles and everything were unbelievably awful. I think I did a review on that game 10 years ago, and it was so bad. I was so hyped for that game, and it totally under-delivered, and was a huge disappointment. Sea Power so far, though, is definitely not a disappointment. So I ordered him to fire again. He fired his other AA-7D, but now he's immediately going cold. I'm telling him to recommit because I don't want him to go cold right away in case the AA-7D misses, which is entirely possible. So right, I'm watching the missile camera here as the missile streaks towards its target. We'll see if it impacts here in a second. And boom, enemy was destroyed. And it looked like it was an F-14. So right there he goes Inistozhena, which is like target destroyed in Russian. And now he's down to his 4 R60, or AFIT as it's called in NATO terminology, but it's the R60, I think R60M in Grau Soviets. There actually is a mod on the Steam Workshop which changes all the missiles in the game to use Grau designations instead of NATO designations, in case you're confused by that, because games like War Thunder all use the Russian Grau designations because, well, it's a Russian developer. But this game is made, Jurassic, I don't exactly know where they're headquartered, but they are not a Russian company. I just know that much. So I'm cranking up the speed here. One of my MiGs has actually descended down to like 2,000 feet, but I did not actually order him to do that. He just did it himself. The game can sometimes be very weird with giving orders, but right now I gave it an order to, I gave my MiG an order to go VID this enemy ship. Because it's not an enemy ship, it's an unknown ship. I don't know if that is a hostile vessel or not. So I'm telling my MiG to go move in and visually identify it. It has to get within a few miles, and then it will be able to tell if it's a hostile or a neutral ship. I'm pretty sure it's a neutral ship, because if it was a NATO warship, it would have shot my MiG down by now. It would have destroyed it with a standard missile or some other sort of SAM, and I'm almost on top of it right now here. Sped the sim up a bit, and yeah, right there, I've identified it as a neutral vessel. Yep, it is a tanker ship or of some kind. Well, or a commercial vessel. So, I now ordered my mate to go investigate the other ship, because I still don't know what kind of ship that is. It could be a NATO intelligence gathering vessel. Like, that's true. You know, just because a ship doesn't shoot at you with a surface-to-air missile, that doesn't mean that it isn't an intelligence gathering ship or some other vessel that could be relaying information about my aircraft or my fleet towards the enemy units. Even though my ships are at MCON, and it's very important in these games, you generally want to keep your surface ships at MCON, and that means you don't have their radars turned on. Because if you're emitting and have your radars turned on, the enemy will immediately know where you are at all times. But if you keep your ships at MCON and you use your AEW aircraft, which is the P-42, to detect enemy units with its onboard radars, then you can keep your ship's radars off until you need to do so. Now, there are times in which you want to have your ship's radars on. Like, if you are already being shot at, then there is no reason to not turn your ship's radars on and remove the MCON condition. But otherwise, yeah. Otherwise, you generally want to stay at MCON. So right now, my one MiG here, even though he's out of AA7s, he does have his 4 R60s, and he's going in to attack the 2 enemy MiGs. But there's an incoming Sparrow right now. And I'm going to tell him to... It was too late. I was going to tell him to try to chafe or... to go on a different course, but he wasn't able to, and he was destroyed. He was just hit with a Sparrow and killed. Now I'm telling my other MiG to fall back towards the carrier, and I'm going to launch a couple more MiGs here. Actually, just one more MiG. And I'm telling my other MiG to head back to the carrier, and he's afterburning and going down to the deck. I believe I gave him an order to go down to a lower altitude, but... Oh no, I'm actually telling him to recommit now. Okay, so I gave him the order to recommit towards... the incoming enemy bogies here. There's 2, I believe they are F-14 Tomcats, and this guy still has both of his AA-7s, so he should be able to engage both enemy contacts relatively easily, and hopefully destroy them. I mean, they are, like I said, they are fire and forget missiles, so he does not have to he can immediately go cold if he so chooses, which the AI generally does, as I said earlier. But I may want him to stay committed to the fight as well here. I just received a new intel message there, which says there's a possibility of enemy submarines. So, yes, I've already been dropping sonobuoys around my fleet with my Helix helicopter earlier, so that's not an issue. So we're just going to wait here, and I'm waiting to see what the range is. Right there, single shot. They're not quite within range to fire yet, but they will be very, very shortly. He's on afterburner at about 10,000 feet, going just over the speed of sound, 850 knots. And I told him to fire there, one missile, and then one missile at the other target. So 1 missile each. And now the MiG is going to try to pull away, but I want him to stay committed in case he has to launch more missiles in a close quarters fight. So he's fired these long-range Fox 2s. I guess they're considered a Fox 2 because they are an IR missile, even though they're long-range. Yeah, and there he's firing an R60 because the AA-7 missed. And both AA-7s have missed, so now I'm telling my MiG to engage with more R60s. Okay, one R60 is destroyed. One F-14 is destroyed, launching 2 more R60s. And splash. So right there, through some sleuthing and, I guess, luck, but also a little bit of skill, I was able to destroy both enemy F-14s with my single MiG-23A, and I actually did it using R60... close-in Fox 2 missiles, and now I'm going to tell him to RTB because he's down to 1 R60, and which is essentially Winchester, aka out of ammunition, and I will tell him to retreat back to base. So air combat in this game can happen very, very, very quickly, and if you're not paying attention to micro your plane, you might actually lose the battle. If you just tell your plane to kind of just engage one target and then leave him alone to do his own thing, that may not always be the best choice of action. So if you micro your planes like I did there, it is much better, and you generally have much better control over your ships, or your aircraft. So it is always good to micro your planes. So now I got my one guy going back to base here, and now we can see the enemy ships. I have enough contact to see that is a Leahy-class cruiser, the Henry E. Yarnell Leahy-class cruiser, which is equipped with SM-1 extended range SAMs on the rear Mark 10 launcher right there. But it's most definitely not a modern engine. As you can see, it has its radars illuminated right there, which is part of the reason why I can detect it from so far away, is it is transmitting on its radars. And there's another ship there, which I believe is an Oliver Hazard Perry-class frigate. So a Leahy-class cruiser and a Perry-class frigate. Those old aircraft, not old, the Perry-class frigates were new in the 1980s, and this scenario takes place in 1985, but the Leahy-class cruisers were started to be commissioned in the mid-60s, and they were definitely showing their age by the mid-80s. They were not equipped they had very relatively slow-firing SAM launchers, I think the SAM launcher on the Leahy could fire 2 missiles every 20 seconds, which is pretty slow, and if you're trying to shoot down incoming missiles, that's not what you want. What I've found in this mod is, this mod, due to the time frame of 1975 to 1985, it generally leans kind of pro-Soviet, because the Soviets during this time period had very dangerous anti-ship missiles, and the Aegis-class ships were only starting to enter service in the mid-1980s. There are no vertical launch system ships from the Ticonderoga class in the game. There, you have to get that with a mod through the New Threat NTU mod and New Threat Upgrade mod, which is already on the Steam Workshop. And if I haven't tried it myself yet, but that it does considerably increase the capability of your Ticonderoga class cruisers by allowing them to fire like basically unlimited SM-2 missiles instead of being restricted to firing only 4 missiles every 10 seconds using the twin arm launchers. So you can resist much higher saturation attacks. Right here, I'm looking at my MiG-23 landing on the Orel class carrier, and you can see the vortex generators, I believe those are called on the wings. Those white things are vortex generators, which help balance the airflow over the wings, and it's just pretty cool how closely modeled the plane is. You can see as the pilot is coming in, the ailerons are moving on either side, and touchdown. Although I don't see the cable move on the back of the tail hook there, which I don't know if that's an oversight, but the tail hook did not actually catch on the animation. Maybe that will be added later, but it is pretty cool to see the planes actually come in for a landing like that. Another reason why this game has very nice detail. But yes, generally speaking, I feel like the Soviets have a little bit of a better time in this game, just because the NATO in that specific time frame was a little bit kind of outmatched. But you have to remember that the U.S. Navy was like 2 to 3 times the size of the Soviet Navy at this time. And, I mean, right now I'm literally using a fictional aircraft carrier which was never even actually produced. So you have to, you know, take things into consideration given that. The Soviet naval strategy was to try to interdict convoys coming through the Greenland, Iceland, United Kingdom gap from reaching Europe, supply convoys with supplies and troops in the event of World War III. The Soviets never intended to actually openly control the ocean. I mean, the Orel class carrier was going to be an open ocean class, an open blue water capability carrier, which would allow them to project power into any ocean in the world that they so choose. And I think the Orel was supposed to be nuclear powered as well, if I recall correctly. So right here, I got some more MiGs up in the air. Again, they're climbing at a ridiculously high angle, dropping their drop tanks, which I don't necessarily want them to do because they haven't actually expended all of their fuel in those tanks yet, so they've just wasted those drop tanks by just dropping them. And again, going at like an 80-degree angle just to get up to, you know, 20,000 feet, which I ordered them 15,000 feet, I believe. But, you know, I don't think that is the best strategy. If you tried that in DCS, an 80-degree climb like that, you would probably stall or lose most of your energy relatively quickly. So I don't think that it is a good call to go at that high of an angle of attack when you are just climbing up to an altitude after coming off a carrier. You could do like a 30, 40, maybe 30 or 40 degree climb, but not more than that. Anyway, there are 2 more hostile bogies. Well, I know they're hostile, so they're bandits coming in to attack. So I got both my MiGs in ready to go. One of them is already supersonic with his wings swept back there, as you can see. These guys are actually armed with the AA-7C Apex. So this is the R-24R, which is this is a radar-guided missile. So this will require a lock. I will have to keep a lock in the entire time on the enemy. And as you can see there, I fired 1 missile, and I cannot order my MiG to fire at the other target because I think the MiG-23 is only capable of locking 1 missile on 1 target with its radar at a time. So I'm waiting for the AA-7C to guide in towards the target. I'm keeping the target illuminated with the radar because you have to or it will miss, as it is a Fox 1. And target splash. Target destroyed there. My other MiG is now engaging with his AA-7D. Sorry, the other MiG is equipped with the IR missile, the previously mentioned R-24T. So this is a fire and forget missile. And splash. So both Tomcats are splashed right there, one with a radar-guided missile and one with a IR missile. So I managed to use both effectively, and as you can see there, yep, only 1 missile is left under the wing of 1 radar-guided missile is under the wing of this This plane, Yastrib 3. And as you can see there, yes, there is the other Perry-class frigate. So I have the other Perry-class frigate and the Leahy-class cruiser, which are basically sitting in the Strait of Gibraltar, just kind of physically blocking it, basically. And now I'm kind of deciding what I want to do next. I have my Krivat-class frigate here. I'm just passing the time with some... You can see it's a very nicely detailed ship. It has the torpedo launchers. It is the Silex launcher in front. Very nice ship. And now back to the Orel. I'm just looking at the unit card here, and yeah, you can see all the various types of radar. Yeah, that's the air search radar, the top pair, as it's called. Long-range air search radar. And that's the... Just looking at the surface search radar, the top steer, because obviously you have air and surface search radars on basically every ship. And then there's another surface search radar, an X-band radar. It's various kinds of air search radars. Some of them are to guide the missiles, because this carrier has this SAN-7 Gadfly and the SAN-4 Gecko, which those are the navalized versions of the Gadfly is the Buck system on land, and the Gecko is the OSA system. So it has the Buck and the OSA systems, both decently capable systems when used. One is more long range than the other, and the other one is, the OSA is more of a point defense system. So I'm ordering my Alpha class submarine to increase speed up to 10 knots, so I can maybe get him into the strait here to do some damage to those enemy ships. But I gotta watch out for these anti-submarine P3 Orions, which are flying around all over the place. Now, I've detected 2 planes down here. There are RA-5C Vigilantes. So the RA-5 was a recon version of the A-5 Vigilante. So this is a reconnaissance plane. It's equipped with cameras in the bottom bay to do aerial photography. And they also have side-looking airborne radars, either SLARs they're called, or synthetic aperture radars, actually, sorry, SARs, which can detect stuff at long range. So I'm going to vector my MiGs into attack because these planes are defenseless and carry no weapons, so it's easy pickings for my MiG. Now, in this mission, the enemy airbase, or I believe it's in an airbase, kind of just keeps sending these planes at you annoyingly, like for the whole mission. It's kind of a flaw of the AI in this mission, unfortunately. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but you know, they're totally defenseless, and the A-5 was a nuclear supersonic bomber, but it was converted into the attack role here in the recon role, as in the RA-5C. So I'm going to send my MiG in here, and he's going to have an easy kill on these 2 RA-5Cs. They are totally defenseless. They have no air-to-air weapons, and I only have 1 AA-7C left and 2 AA-8 aphids, or 1 R-24R and 2 R-60s. Just trying to look at the range here of his radar as well. His radar is on, and I've told him to attack, but for some reason he is unable to fire the missile. I don't know why. Can't seem to get a lock. I don't know if this is because they're so close to the water that the clutter is preventing my radar from getting a lock, but as soon as I switch to the R-60, my MiG immediately fires. And then he pulls away, and you can see the RA-5s are dropping flares there. And then my MiG, one of them is destroyed. My MiG immediately tries to climb. Again, I didn't order him to do that. He just did it on his own. And now I'm telling him to re-engage with the R-60 again. The other RA-5. I have to actually give him a manual order to fire the R-60 because he's trying to use the R-24, which doesn't seem to work properly against the radar clutter of the ground. And splash. You can see them eject there, which is really cool. And then the targets are destroyed. So now I'm completely out of R-60s, and I have one R-24R left, but I'm just going to tell my MiG to return to base, as it is the easiest to do so. And now, again, he's doing the ridiculously high angle climb. I don't know why, but that's just what the AI does sometimes. And now I am deciding what to do next. I think I'm going to launch another plane. Yep, I launched another MiG-23 here to replace the one that is RTB, or Winchester, as you call it. Well, Winchester would be totally out of weapons. Technically speaking, that MiG still has 1 missile left, but there's still more enemy bandits incoming here, so I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. I'm going to tell my MiG to go back up to 20,000 feet, I believe, and I'm telling him to engage with his remaining AA-7. So I kind of figure here that this MiG is going to get trounced and defeated by those F-14s if I don't do something. So I told him to just commit and attack with the missile. So he fires right there, Fox 1 with the R-24, but he only has that 1 missile left, and if that missile misses, that MiG is screwed. But I figured because he's already in the combat zone and that F-14 is going to probably come in and kill him as he's returning to base. I figured it'd be better if he gets a shot off on the enemy plane, and which gives him a fighting chance. But there's an enemy AIM-7M Sparrow coming in here, and it is likely going to kill my MiG, and that's it. Unfortunately, then, as soon as my targeting aircraft is destroyed, the R-24 will miss. So my MiG's going down and is destroyed. So that's 2 MiG-23s lost this mission, but I've definitely had a much higher kill-death ratio than that. I've destroyed at least 4, I think 5 enemy aircraft for only 2 losses so far. So this plane is equipped with the IR Apex missile, the IR-guided one, the R-24T, and he just fired one. Standard Soviet procedure, at least in the Air Force or Air Defense Force, was to fire one radar-guided and one IR-guided missile at the same time to maximize kill probability. Now, you can't mix a long-range IR and long-range radar-guided loadouts in this game, unfortunately, that I've seen. You only have preset loadouts, so you can't really do that, but that was official Soviet procedure. Anyway, I managed to destroy that enemy aircraft. I think it was either an F-14 or an F-15, I'm not sure. The enemy also has F-15s in this mission, in addition to Tomcats, so... I'm now commanding my other MiG to climb back up to, this is the newly launched MiG, sorry. The newly launched other MiG-23. Right there I'm telling my P-42 to turn around so that he is not anywhere close to those incoming enemy aircraft because I don't want that to cause a problem. So, yeah, so there we go. Now we have a sonobuoy that I've just dropped. I'm just looking at it there in the water because, as the intel update said, there was a threat of enemy submarines in the area. So I was worried about that, but we'll see if the sonobuoys end up detecting anything. Now I'm vectoring my new MiG into position here to confront the additional enemy incoming bandits. Now, if I had to, the S-300 missiles on my Slava-class cruiser would be more than capable of dealing with these incoming enemy threats, but I don't know if these are fighters or if they're attack aircraft. And if they're attack aircraft carrying harpoons, I'm not going to do that. Actually, as you can see right here, he's already within S-300 range. So, and right there I fire one. I fire an S-300 off at the enemy target, but, yeah, and the missile is on its way. So the Grumble missile is on its way. As you can see, it fired cold launched from the VLS, and then the fire director pointed towards the enemy target. It's actually going to be interesting if the S-300 gets there before my MiG is able to intercept him with his own missile. The S-300 obviously is going very fast, like, 3,000 knots. And right there we go. My MiG has fired his AA-7D IR-guided Apex. But I think the S-300 is going to actually make it there first, so it'll be interesting to see. The S-300 could also very easily miss, and no, he does not. The enemy F-14 is destroyed by an S-300. So, but my Slava-class cruiser did not have to turn his radars on because of the AAW aircraft, my P-42 sending data link information, which but data links are kind of modeled in this game. I don't know how realistic that is. There definitely could be more realism with the data links because I don't know how well target sharing in the Soviet Navy would have worked, being able to hand off targets to a cruiser from an AEW aircraft, but this AEW aircraft does not actually exist, so it makes it a little bit difficult to figure out things when, they don't actually exist. So, anyway, my MiG is patrolling there, and my other, you can see on the yellow, if you ever see a yellow indication on the map, that indicates that the aircraft is actually low on fuel, and it's bingo fuel. So this guy's coming in for approach. There's a way to track the fuel state. I believe there's an indicator above each of your friendly aircraft. It's like a little circle on the top of the indicator on the map, and then that slowly decreases as your aircraft's fuel state goes down, as far as I know. So, yeah, the UI is pretty good in this game. It could use some improvements. Like, unlike in Command Modern Operations, there's no way to select more than one unit at once. That is something I don't like. In Command, you could still have a box, just drag a box, and even in Fleet Command, drag a box over multiple units and tell them to either move or attack a different target or move to a different position all at once. Here, you're not able to do that. You have to use the formation editor, and you have to do formation orders. Right-click on your formation leader and tell them to either attack or turn on a sensor or do something like that, or all return to base at once. That is something that I don't like about this game. Whereas in Fleet Command and dangerous waters you commanded one platform, so that doesn't really count. But fleet command and command modern operations, you are able to drag and select multiple units very easily. As you can see here, there are 2 more RA5 vigilantes, recon vigilantes coming in, and I'm vectoring another MiG down there to go take care of them. He's already fired 1 missile there, and I'm going to tell him to turn around and engage the last one with an R60. First missile's the R24T IR Apex, which should get a kill. You can see there they're popping their flares, and boom, 1 down. Is going to tell him to engage the other one with the R60 once he gets within range here. Not quite within range, but he will be in a second here. And Fox 2. Should be an easy kill. Target is not maneuvering, literally flying in a straight line. The other thing, too, is the AI is not very good. Like, when you shoot at them with a missile like that they can literally see coming in, like, they pop flares, but they make no attempt to go evasive or to try to dodge it. They just keep flying in a straight line, which is an easy kill. So, the AI does need some work. And I know that the devs of this game are working on the AI. That's probably one of my biggest complaints. If you play in a mission where the enemy has a carrier group, the enemy carrier group basically does not launch aircraft. Like, they don't do anything. I think they've patched it now where they will launch AEW aircraft, like E2 Hawkeyes or the PL-42 RLBN plane, but beyond that, they don't launch attack aircraft, they don't launch fighters, they don't do anything, and that's a serious downside when you're playing a mission and you want to have a serious challenge. So the AI will be worked on, and a lot of people are making custom missions as well, which improve the difficulty of the game. Like, this is a built-in mission, the scenario called Breakthrough, and this came with the game. But people in the workshop are already coming out with lots of very interesting scenarios. I know there's one called Pacific Strike, and there's another one called, I think, I can't remember. Pacific Strike is the main one. Oh, Desert Strike. That's the one where you, in the first Gulf War. Anyway, I've decided I want to shoot some P500 missiles at the enemy ships. So the Leahy and the... And as you can see there, I gave the order to fire. The hatches on the Slav are opening, and the P500 SSN-12 sandbox missiles are away. You can see there, they launch out of the tubes, they open up. Extremely cool. They had beautiful, absolutely beautiful animations of the missiles streaking out of the tubes with their boosters. And then the boosters fall off and the missiles then go to their cruise profile. Smoke is obscuring the entire deck as it would in real life as the P500 missiles are launched. And right there, all the missiles that I ordered to fire are fired. And the missiles are in the air. So here you go, the P500 Basalt SSN-12 sandbox missile. Currently flying at just above the speed of sound at about 16,000 feet. They fly at this altitude in formation, and these missiles are smart, so they have data links with each other, and they all go at different speeds to fly in formation. All 6 missiles here. These missiles were a lot smarter than NATO anti-ship missiles at the time. The NATO anti-ship missile, the Harpoon, and the French missile, the Exocet, which actually isn't in the game. There are no British or French missiles or platforms in the game, except like the Mirage, I think, which is disappointing. But anyway, the Soviet missiles of this era were very dangerous in the fact that they had data link capability. They could talk to each other. One missile would generally fly higher than the others, and which would feed coordinates and data information to the other missiles in the formation. At least with the P700. I think the P500... They all just kind of flew in a formation like this, and once they got close enough to the enemy formation, they will descend down to attack sea skimming height of about 100 feet, which makes it very difficult. And obviously here I've sped up the sim considerably, because if you do this at 1x speed, it will take the missiles like, it could potentially take them like 10 minutes to get to the target, because it is like, I think, 150, 200 miles of distance. The missiles actually have sped up now. They're going 1,300 knots, so that's not quite Mach 2, but quite fast. I don't know of the enemy air defenses. I know that there are Hawk batteries and enemy fighters in the area, and now the missiles are starting to descend, as you can see here, from 16,000 feet. Each of these missiles has I believe a 1,000 kilogram or 2,000 pound warhead, which basically means that if any NATO ship is hit with a missile like this, they are finished. No ship of this era, or even more modern ships, can resist a missile with a 2,000 pound warhead traveling at, just over the speed of sound, slamming into it. One of them was actually already shot down there. I don't know with what exactly, but there are the two enemy ships. One of them is a Leahy, which SM-1 ER, I think, extended range missiles. But like I said, it can only shoot them at a slow rate of 2 missiles every 20 seconds. The Perry, the Oliver Hazard Perry, has a single arm launcher as well, which I think can shoot 1 missile every 10 seconds, which is of SM-2 medium range. But the missiles are now in attack formation. Another one was just shot down there. Yes, one was shot down by an SM-2 ER of the Henry Yarnell, which is the Leahy-class cruiser. But all it takes is one of these missiles to get through, and the enemy ships are finished. So, as you can see right now, they're not... Oh, okay, actually, 2 missiles there hit an enemy ship, which I don't know what it is. But there is an enemy ship there. At least I think it's an enemy ship, but I don't actually know what it is. And now there are 2 or 3 missiles remaining. The enemy Sea Whiz is and they're releasing chafe, Sea Whiz and all of that, but it is no avail. And both ships are destroyed. The ammunition cooked off there on the Yarnell and, well, also on the Perry, and both ships are basically completely destroyed. Now, a ship of this size, you can see the superstructure has been completely blown up in the middle there. These early cruisers, especially the Leahy class, were made of aluminium, and as you know, aluminium or aluminum burns extremely easily. So, when you're hit with a missile of that power and strength, the ship is finished. As you can see, the life rafts are in the ocean there, and both ships are burning severely, and everyone on those ships are probably dead or burning alive or, you know, in the water. They're very gruesome to think about, but this is the reality of anti-ship warfare when you're dealing with these extremely lethal, powerful cruise missiles that are difficult to shoot down. So both ships are destroyed. It only took 6 missiles to destroy both of them, a frigate and a cruiser. You can see there's a massive hole in the side of the Leahy and the Perry, and they're both taking on water almost right away. So that's basically a taste of sea power. Very detailed game. There's a lot going for it. I really love the animations. I love the platforms available. They need to have more, but there will be more added over the next little while. And here I end the mission. Obviously, I haven't actually completed the objective, but I've destroyed a large portion of the enemy. Well, 2 ships. I've destroyed 8 F-15s, 4 RA-5Cs. So those are actually F-15s, not F-14s. That's okay, though, and that's the end of the mission. So that's a taste of sea power, naval combat in the Missile Age, and kind of a brief overview and my thoughts on the game so far. They need to improve the AI in this game. That's the biggest thing. They need to improve the AI. They need to add more platforms, the British and French, Australian, and Canadian navies. They really need to do that. And they need to maybe edit the behaviors of some of the units when you order them to go up or down or change altitudes and stuff like that. So overall, the game is very, very good. This is what I've been waiting for years. I have been waiting for this game to come out for a long time. No one has made a worthy successor to Fleet Command, which actually has a graphical user interface, in like 20 years. Command Modern Operations is a very, very, very good game, but it just doesn't have the graphical user interface that this game has in the graphics, which, let's be honest, the graphics make all the difference. So, I hope you enjoyed my presentation and take on this video here. If you stayed to the end, thank you so much. And if you've been a follower of me and a watcher of me in the past, welcome back. And I should be coming out with another video here in a week or two. And this is ColdWarriorGamer signing off.